it's 2.2, step 3, literary aspect jigsaw. And this is the video where I'm explaining to you what it is we're talking about with your particular literary aspect that you decided to trace. So for this video, I'm talking about the motif of flowers. All right, you got the right video? All right, let's get started then. You're taking some notes in your packet. This is a must-do. First of all, how is the literary aspect defined? When we're talking about the motif of something, we're looking at a symbolic image or idea that repeats, okay? Motif comes originally from the French, meaning pattern. And so it's anything that creates a pattern through repetition. And when we're talking about the motif of flowers, we're looking specifically at descriptions of flowers and fruit-bearing plants. All right. Sometimes this will be the literal, the obvious, like Serena Joy's garden, the tulips, the daffodils that we hear about in the first 7 chapters. Sometimes it's a little bit less obvious, like the painting in Offred's room, which is of flowers. Or the figurative metaphoric descriptions where maybe people are compared to flowers or plants, or the name of the clothing store, Lilies of the Valley. So these are all possibilities. These are the kinds of things we're looking for. And let me take you through the examples as they occur in the book. And if you wanted to mark these in your book, you sure can. Draw a little flower in the margin next to all of these. The first one's in chapter 2 on page 7. On the wall above the chair, a picture framed but with no glass, a print of flowers, blue irises, watercolor. Flowers are still allowed. Does each of us have the same print? Chapter 3, page 12. I go out by the back door into the garden, which is large and tidy, a lawn in the middle, a willow, weeping catkins, around the edges the flower borders in which the daffodils are now fading and the tulips are opening their cups, spilling out color. The tulips are red, no A there, a darker crimson towards the stem, as if they have been cut and are beginning to heal there. So there's Serena Joy's garden. Here's one from chapter 4 on page 10. Some of you will fall on, ooh, that's not page 10, is it? I got the wrong page number there, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, sorry, it is page 18. So not 10, it's 18. How about the next one here? The store has a huge wooden sign outside it in the shape of a golden lily. Lilies of the field, it's called, from chapter 5, page 25. And then the last one, chapter 6, page 33. The red of the smile is the same as the red of the tulips in Serena Joy's garden. Anytime you see something that is repeated, in this kind of way, this specific way where we're like, oh, wait, Serena Joy's garden has been already talked about and we already heard about red tulips. We really know it's pretty important, right? If the author is coming back to that. So that's a good one to jot down. Okay, those are some good examples of the motif of flowers in the first 7 chapters. Let's talk about the effects of this literary aspect. Now, you are more than welcome to use the effects that I talk about in this video as you are writing about the literary aspects, okay? Don't try to find some brand new thing unless a brand new thing comes to you and you want to go with that. But feel free to use these is what I'm trying to say, all right? The first one is it creates a feeling of lushness and fertility. Flowers, the birds and the bees, right? In Scandinavian cultures, instead of the birds and the bees, they call it the flowers and the bees, right? It makes a little more sense as a way to start explaining to little kids about sex and reproduction, right? Flowers are a common symbol used for fertility, reproduction, and they're usually associated with women, right? So that's something I think that hits us automatically. Also, is the separation and control of the handmaids. Think about Serena Joy's garden. It's not Offred's garden. That's not her domain. It's Serena Joy's domain. And so there's some separation and control happening there. I think also it parallels the duality of beauty and harsh realities of life in Gilead. So we have the beauty of the flower, but then the flower is what she remembers when she sees the smile on, not the smile, but the blood stain on the sack of, on the man who's been hanged, right? Looking like a smile. And so there is a duality there. There are two things happening at the same time. She's reminded of something beautiful, but then she's also faced with the harsh realities of life in Gilead. So watch for that to come up again, too, about how there seems to be two things that are true at the same time about in relation to the flower motif. I think that moves to a kind of a more general aspect of, or effect of, highlighting the tension between the idealized view of women and the actual reality, right? Women are supposed to be beautiful and perfect, and as mothers, you know, infallible and always loving and all of those things. But then in reality, they're you know, it's not always perfect, right? Women aren't always beautiful. They aren't always kind, even as mothers. And the actual act of childbirth is rather gruesome. And we'll hear about that a little bit in the book, sorry. And so there's, you know, on the one side, this idealized view of women and motherhood in particular. And then on the other side, the reality that is sometimes harsh, gruesome, whatever. It reminds us, too, of the importance of the handmaid's ability to reproduce and the danger if they are unable to. This is central to Gilead, right? The reason Gilead exists in many ways, or the reason Gilead exists is because of the falling birth rate. And the way that they are trying to recapture the birth rate, to get more babies born, is by implementing the handmaids. And so the connection to fertility and it is obvious there when we think of it in those terms, right? All right, how about connections to theme? Well, our first theme, the power of voice to create truths. Watch for what people say about why handmaids are in existence, what their purpose is. And then if there's any connection to this flower motif, that would be really a really great thing to watch for. How about resisting oppression like a girl? How does Offred, and I don't know that we've seen this yet, maybe a little bit when she thinks about the tulips as she's visiting the wall, but how does Offred use flowers in a subversive way in order to resist oppression, in order to challenge the totalitarian government? And how is it stereotypically feminine, or in a more sort of subtle way, so that she can last in this regime? Innocence, guilt, and redemption. What does Offred do that makes her feel guilty in relation to the tulips? Is comparing the tulips to the face of the hanging man. Is that a moment of guilt? Is she feeling guilty about maybe Nick being dead, or about these other people who have died and the fact that she remains? How about innocence? Is anyone innocent in this book? And are there any connections to the flower motif there? Has anybody been redeemed? Have they been forgiven? And then look for connections to the flower motif. The last one, story and imagination as creative forces. This theme is looking at how telling your story can be a force to create. It can work in response to untruths that have been created, and it can be a type of agency for characters who have little to no agency, freedom, or power over anything. So you're going to watch for these as you read, and remember that you're writing about 2 examples. Now, you can use the ones that I included in this video if you want to, or you can use 2 different ones. I only looked through the first 7 chapters, and for the 2.2 step 3, it asks you to go through page 106. So maybe you're going to find better examples later on that you want to use, and that would be perfectly fine as well. Using those examples, writing those examples down, and analyzing and evaluating and interpreting them is a should do in 2.2 step 3. All right, good luck as you work on this, and I look forward to talking to you in your hub huddle about the flower motif and what you find.